Hello and welcome to Web of Light with...
Angie Donju.
Oh, you're going to use your last name this time? At least she's pronouncing it right now. And Dr. Kevin. Hi. As always, we want to welcome you into our living room. Don't we have a lovely living room?
Yeah, we do.
Yeah, did you pick this furniture?
It's a beautiful little desk,
I love it. And the flowers, they're so fragrant. They're so fragrant. Can you smell them in the audience? What do you think?
Of course you can.
Of course you can, okay. So we want to welcome you to Web of Light, and as always, we're going to start this week with our words of wisdom, or what we like to call wow. You know that Angie and I take turns, and so this week I get to do my wow, or my words of wisdom, from one of my favorites. I think that this was one of the most fascinating men in American history. So I'm going to read the quote. I'm going to give you a second, see if you can think of who it is, and then I'll let you know. Lost time is never found again. Who in our listening audience is an expert on quotes? Well, it was by Benjamin Franklin, one of our founding fathers. Benjamin Franklin was probably one of the most diverse historical figures. He was an ADD man of his time. I think that's a fair way to put it. He definitely had diversity. So I'm going to do one more, which actually is a poem that I wrote in honor of today's guest and what we're going to be talking about. And then I'm going to see what Angie thinks of all of this. This is called Labyrinth. One walks into the confusing maze to achieve goals or find answers to discover meaning. In the center, one finds either nothing or themselves, then begins the journey back. Upon arriving back out, one finds either that they continue to wander or live life in wonder, knowing there is nothing more to find. So what do you think, Angie?
It's a very nice poem.
You like that?
Yeah.
Time is such a...
But time is the piece of your words of wisdom.
Yeah, it's all about time. And, you know, a lot of time, I talk to people about labyrinths, and there's some beautiful ones all over the world that I've walked, and going into them and stuff like this, and they say, where do you find the time? Where do you find the time? And I'm like, I don't know. Maybe I missed an episode of some TV show that you just are obsessed with and decided to take a walk with a labyrinth. I think that's called choice.
You find the choices of your time and you use them the way you feel free to use them.
Yeah.
So I have to say to you, though, some of those people that go home and get themselves wound up with a specific character and into a sitcom or whatever it may be, that actually may be their labyrinth. That may be their meditation. As sad as you might feel that is.
Okay, so now and I know, and I do it myself. I sometimes need to unwind, and I need to do something where my brain can check out a little bit, because my brain tends to be on high most of the time, or I should say high gear, or it's going to sound like I've been smoking something. But it's in high gear most of the time. And so sometimes I need to unwind. Sometimes I need to find something that will appeal to a different part of my brain or engage it. But if all of the Americans took TV time and all the TV time they consume and really were using it as meditative time, we would be the most spiritually enlightened country in the world. And I don't think anybody is going to make that statement.
Because they're too busy with everything else in their life, and they need that moment of that peace. And I'm not completely anti-watching something. I'm not against taking a break. I just take issue with the idea that I think that way too many people in this country use it as a way to live life vicariously, to avoid living life. And I love TV that challenges me. And I mean, I don't mean challenges me not to have a stroke and throw a shoe through the thing, because I'm watching some of the stupid comments somebody like Trump made. But we won't get into politics.
No, we're not going that route.
No, we're not going to go there. We're not going to go there.
So it is very nice to walk a labyrinth, but it's also very nice to even go out and be in the fresh air.
Yeah.
And, you know, I honestly will say that a lot of people, because it's summer, here we go, back to that summer theme, they will actually not watch as much as their TV land because they'll actually get out and do a barbecue or enjoy family on a back porch or a back pool even. And the only reason they do that is because they're probably going to have some nice, beautiful weather to be in. And there's all reruns in the summer.
That doesn't stop people. I get the biggest kick out of the people who, especially if they criticize people that watch reruns, that will watch news 10 hours a day. Every time the TV's on, they're watching news. Like the news changes that fast. Like it's that quick. Like you have to watch the news breakfast, lunch, dinner, and before you go to bed. And you have to tune in. You have to watch the weather 10 times to see if their odds don't improve. You can watch the weather forecast 10 times. You can watch 5 different stations and watch it 10 times. They'll all say different things.
It's true.
So who do you believe?
I honestly feel, though, that somebody who watches the news, now that's a little different. If you're watching the news all the time, you get pretty depressed. So my feeling is, instead of watching the news of the world, watch the news of your close-knit family. So in other words, take some time out with your family and see what's new about them. Not what's new about what's going on in the world and what's going on in this, even in the city. It's all right to have some, don't be ignorant about what's going on around you, but put some focus on, what has Tommy accomplished today, or, what has Julie been up to, and where is she off to, and not, so that when you go to a family reunion, you're not sitting there and saying, they did that? Really? I didn't even know they did that.
So you're advocating Facebook over the news?
It doesn't always have to be Facebook. It can be gatherings. It's always good. So do you know that? And see, you're bringing up another subject. Time. And this is very prominently crazy with our younger generation. And, I never thought I'd hear myself saying the younger generation. But here I am saying it. But, it's actually saddens me because there is a lot of families where the families don't get together. The nieces, the nephews, the cousins, even the own siblings. They have so much going on that, it used to be a time in our whole history where Sunday was usually a day to be with your family, to catch up on what was the family news. That's all gone pretty much, except for some people that do honor and respect it. But there's many, many out there with all that these kids have to do these days between work and college and running around and making sure they can get into meat. And it's too hectic. They're losing that family tradition.
Yep. There's been the great passage of Gossip Sunday, Family Gossip Sunday is not what it used to be.
Yeah.
Now it's spread through Facebook. But the problem is anybody can put anything on Facebook, but somebody was having the most fabulous life, and you bump into them and you go, you look like crap, are you okay? And they're like, oh my God, you have no idea. And then you have the other ones who, they could have written a soap opera from their Facebook post, because there's always something wrong. Oh, I'm back in the hospital for the 54th time this week, and I have this and I have that. And you see them, and they're out dancing, while somebody else is buying them drinks. But on Facebook, they're having the worst life ever. Going, oh God. So, it's your guest this week. Would you like to introduce
We're going to go
him?
into our guest time. And I'm really happy to have Micheal Farrington here with us. He actually I came across Micheal a few years back. Honestly, I don't remember our exact beginning meeting, but all I know is that Micheal brought to our event a really beautiful piece. He brought in his labyrinth. It's a traveling labyrinth, which he sets up. And I feel inspired with him, and I'm sure he realizes that, because he travels all over the place with this labyrinth. And I call him the traveling man. He goes all the way down to the bottom of the East Coast, and then he'll go all the way back up towards New Hampshire once again, So he flows with the seasons. And we're glad that he's back here for another season.
Well, thank you for
And I'm going to
inviting me.
introduce you here, Michael. Let's give the people a little bit of what it is that you do, who you are.
Yes, I'm Micheal Farrington, and I do exactly as Angie says. I did bring some pictures to show, but I have a 19-foot Airstream, which I can park about anywhere and stay overnight. And I bring a canvas labyrinth. I find the picture I want to show. I bring it, it's a canvas labyrinth. Oh. Yes, of course, there it is. And that's my Airstream, and that's the canvas labyrinth. So yes, I go down to Florida because I live in the labyrinth. I live in the van full time, and it's much nicer in the warm weather. And then back up here in the spring, and I just really am enjoying myself. I've been to several events that Angie has had, and I've done festivals and fairs, 4 down in Florida this past winter, 1 in Maryland, and up here in the New England, New York area. I don't know, I think I have 5 or 6 this summer. And in between times, I set it up for my neighbors and friends, bring it to farmer's market and set it up there. I've had it in a wedding. It was used by the bride and the groom, walked to the center, and they did their marriage in the center and then walked back out.
Yeah, so Michael, can you explain to our audience a little bit about, we saw the labyrinth on this picture, and it seems to be you go through a little maze of walking, there's little circles on there.
Well, I will take issue with Kevin's poem to begin with.
Sure.
The very first line, a confusing maze to achieve goals, to find answers. To achieve goals and find answers, but it is not a confusing maze. There are mazes. The labyrinth, I make a distinction because there's 2 different kinds. You have a maze that has cul-de-sacs and dead ends and can be very confusing. But a labyrinth has a sure path to the center. The path in my labyrinth is a classic 7-ring labyrinth and has a very sure path into the center. So there's nothing confusing. You'll make twists and turns, you go towards the center and back out, but there's nothing confusing about it. Once you're on the path, it is a path to the center. It's like life. We have a sure path to our center. And that's one reason I have it, one reason I take it places, is to teach people that we do have a sure path to the center. The point of the labyrinth, for history, the history of the labyrinth. It's been found throughout the world. They've found it in China and Russia. They've found it in Peru and Venezuela. It's all over Europe. The Native Americans make it into the bottom of their baskets out west. They call it the man in the maze. So labyrinth and maze are interchangeable. But in my mind, a labyrinth has a sure path. And the one that the Native Americans make is a sure path. It's also a 7-ring labyrinth like mine is. There's some very famous labyrinths over in France. And I can't remember the name of the cathedral that has it, but it's an 11-ring labyrinth. So they can make them bigger and smaller and more intricate, but it is a sure path to the center. And that path is walked to bring your intentions, your hopes, wishes, dreams, prayers to the center. So to walk in with an intention and to walk with an intention in a space that has become, well, I think I'll back up just a little bit, because the other thing about the history of the labyrinth is it has been used in almost all religions. It crosses all those denominations. There's no one religion that's particular to it. So you can, as a Christian, you could walk it with Jesus and walk it into the center, or you could walk it with Muhammad and walk it to the center. It doesn't matter what the religion is. What it is that you're staying focused on bringing your intention in. Instead of a quiet meditation time, it's a physical activity. You're physically bringing your intentions and your prayers into the center. And what a tremendous thing to be able to do, to take it into the center and give it up to God or Spirit or Muhammad or Jesus or whatever you want to phrase, that being that is in all of us. And walking a path, staying between the lines, also helps us to keep in the present moment. It's in the present moment that we have our power. There's no power in thinking about the past, it's gone. There's no power in thinking about the future, it's not here. The power is in the present moment. So when you're walking on the labyrinth, you're in the present moment, you're staying between the lines, you're walking with your intention. Those prayers are very powerful. That's why it's been found in all religions, and it's been found around the world.
And Michael, I want to say, I have worked with your labyrinth, with other labyrinths as well, but with yours. And one thing I will, something that was astounding to me was the first time I went onto your labyrinth, we were in Laconia, right near Weir's Beach. And of course you realize, you know, people that are from the New Hampshire area, you do realize that if you're on that strip, it's pretty loud. There's motorcycles and there's trucks and there's people beeping and all kinds of stuff going on up there. And I thought to myself, if I'm going to do this, I'm not sure if we'll be able to do it up here in this parking lot that he set it up in, because there's so many distractions. So I started to walk this. And just as I went around the first corner of walking, like he said, staying in the lines, you're walking the circle to the center, I realized as I got halfway through that there was no distractions. I was in that moment. All the way through until I came back out, and then I realized as soon as I stepped out and came back to my, you know, being in the, all of a sudden I heard everything.
Right.
That was amazing to experience that, because it was like, what?
There is tremendous energy in this. When I set it up, I'm setting up an energy field, and it really is a sacred space to walk. The kids that come and walk it, they can't help but start to run. I've seen it time and time again. I've had parents say, don't run, but before that child gets very far, it's full of energy and has to run. Yeah. And that's can be difficult for some people that want to have a quiet meditative time, but I think that they go through the same as you did, Angie, and just they kind of tune out some of the other activities that are going on because they're concentrated on walking that path.
It's just amazing, yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, one of the things, because I'm going to go back for a second, because I've walked labyrinths. In fact, we did a drumming circle a couple of months ago around a labyrinth, and then we ended it with everybody drumming, walking through the labyrinth.
Oh, nice.
Just doing a drum. And
Yeah.
there's a beautiful labyrinth at a cathedral in San Francisco that I've walked many times. There's one outside, and then there's one inside the church. So there's both. But so I've brought a lot of people to labyrinths, or introduced to them through the years, because I'm a big fan, and am actually writing a one-man show around a labyrinth.
Yes.
So, but the first time you bring somebody and they look at it, it just looks like a maze to them. Their brain can't figure it out. Yeah. So when that person steps into that labyrinth, until you've really become a labyrinth walker, your brain almost short circuits, which is part of the power of the labyrinth, which is why I talk about walking into the maze.
Okay.
Because it has that short circuit event of, okay, my brain can't make sense of this, but the part of your brain that can't make sense of it is the part of your brain that gets in the way when you're trying to get into a deeper place, into a deeper center spot. And with the walking of the labyrinth, to me, I often describe it as it's a moving meditation.
Yes.
There's a moving meditation as it goes through that labyrinth.
That's
and as
right.
you do each turn and you kind of go through it. So just going back to do a counterpoint to the maze reference. Now, labyrinths, you work with them very intimately, and you've worked with them for a while. I know that you have a canvas labyrinth, but you also will build a labyrinth on a property, correct?
I would love to do that. I've only made a couple in my life here, but as far as making one in somebody's yard, but I love to do it. Yes, it's a very it's an enjoyable thing. It's quite an endeavor sometimes. I've built labyrinths on every beach I go to. If I arrive at a beach and I have time and some space, I'll build a labyrinth. It doesn't take me more than an hour, hour and a half to build one on the beach. And
When you
I've
say
had
build,
some tremendous.
When you say build a labyrinth on the beach, you
bet-
use the sand?
I use the sand.
Okay.
A labyrinth has two parts. It has a path and it has walls. And if you sit down to think about drawing a labyrinth, you're going to be quickly confused by it, because you end up trying to draw the path that you're taking, and it doesn't happen. Your brain doesn't do it. You have to put the walls in at the same time, and so yeah, it's a very interesting space. It's a sacred space, and when I set mine up, I usually set a sign up that says this is a sacred space for meditation and prayer, and try to get people to understand that this isn't a game.
No.
It's not a corn
very
maze.
sweet, yeah.
This is why I said what I did, because a lot of people think of a maze, they think of a corn maze that is really confusing, intentionally confusing. And the labyrinth really isn't. And it is hard to get people to understand that they're going to get on it and they're going to walk the path to the center.
Could you put that back up again so the screen can go into it?
I should have got a better picture of the
Yeah.
labyrinth,
So
but I
if you
wanted
go,
to.
if you look at this, as you can see, it's almost like you're walking in a circle in between the lines. And in the middle, you see there's a darker spot in the middle. And that's the center that you walk to. And it's, as you can see, it's not that large a spot. But it's a space where when you're putting your intention, a lot of times you actually receive answer. Or you actually feel a weight coming off your shoulder through that.
You can make a labyrinth with any size center.
Yeah.
You can make it so it goes around trees. You can incorporate all
Right.
kinds of things into a labyrinth, but that it would still be the same.
But the labyrinth is always going to be smaller than the circumference of going around.
Oh, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure.
Because, of course,
oh,
you're going
yeah.
to that center.
Yeah.
Yeah. I actually, because I lived in Phoenix for 5.5 years till about a year ago, and I had friends that built a labyrinth in their yard. They have an oversized, like a double lot of land that they got when they had their house built. And so they have this beautiful labyrinth that you walk out to that's at their house, and they invite people to come anytime they want. Any of their friends, anytime I wanted, I could just show up at their house, never even have to go into their house and choose to walk the labyrinth. It's a permanent
That's a
thing that they
beautiful
built.
piece.
Yeah.
And I also went to a very interesting labyrinth in, I'm going to forget the name of the town. It was in England. I think the place was the Chatsworth House. But they had done a labyrinth, and they had done it as a topiary with hedges that were 10 feet high.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Beautiful.
That's
Beautiful.
cool.
Yeah.
So you walked in, and now there, of course, you don't have the effect here of you're walking and then you're walked, because the hedges formed all the stuff, but you could go in and
Right.
you were completely
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
stuff like that. So in your time, have you come up with any suppositions? Because this is not something like two cavemen sitting around the fire going, let's do this like screwy thing. And yet, like you said, they're in India, they're in China, they're in Peru, they're all through Europe, they're throughout the Native American United States. Where did a universal symbol like this, because there's not a logic that would be apparent that would make one create this. Where do you think labyrinths originally came from? Where was the first labyrinth? What's your thought?
Well, the oldest shard that they've found with a labyrinth on it was found in Syria. Cradle of civilization, yes. Where it comes from, I don't know. Where do those creative thoughts come from? That's comes from spirit. Extraterrestrial, maybe. I'm not saying. I have no experience that way. I've not been
Abducted?
abducted.
In all your travels?
Yeah.
No, never.
One thing I want to say about my labyrinth, my canvas one, on the side of my van, I've written that it's an alchemy labyrinth. And a lot of people say, well, what do you mean an alchemy labyrinth? Well, in the center of my labyrinth, I've placed the symbol for grace. And alchemy is a transformation of human consciousness. The old meaning of alchemy was the chemical process of turning lead into gold. Lately, it's taken on more of a spiritual connotation in changing base humans into awakened humans, or an awakening of their consciousness. I feel like that's our job here. That's what we do. That's why we're walking this earth, is to awaken our understanding of who we are and why we are here and what we are doing. So I've put the symbol for grace. Would you like to explore that a little? Would you like to look at it?
Sure.
Sure.
Absolutely.
I would like to show it to you. I
Yeah.
Of course.
I wasn't sure what you meant when you first said explored a little. I just
Okay.
Yeah, I would love to see it. Yes.
Yes. This I put in the center of the labyrinth.
Okay.
If
And
you could hold it up so
I
we can get a good
believe. Can you
shot.
see that? Okay. Yes. Okay. The black is the void out beyond everything. The white represents all of creation. The blue represents the earth. The tan color represents all of humanity. The yellow star, which is in the center, represents you. The red line, which comes from the void to the center of you, is spirit, which holds everything together. When people go in to the labyrinth and stand on this grace symbol, the understanding that spirit is in you, in all, and that you are an important part of the whole, not a mere speck between earth and sky, which we get told so many times. The fact is that our consciousness affects all of creation. Our consciousness affects our brothers and sisters. We know this. We know this. You can be in a room and have somebody walk in and know whether they have a chip on their shoulder and are looking for trouble, or the opposite, looking for something good when they come in. We can feel this energy in people, and it's like a pebble in a pond that makes ripples. We make ripples throughout humanity, and it's our consciousness, our understanding that we have spirit in us, and it's in all. Mm-hmm. And if we understood that, we'd stop dropping bombs. We wouldn't want to do that to ourselves. We wouldn't want to do that to our neighbors and our friends. We wouldn't want to hit anybody. And we would truly be able to start to understand that the same spirit's in you as in me. And we would be able to find it easier to love one another.
So my first question is this a symbol that you discovered or one you put together?
One that I put together. I did plagiarize a little bit from well, the basic geometrical idea was Terry Goodkind in a fantasy book that he had written. He had something similar to that, but my definition of it is mine, and
Symbol of
I
grace.
use it for that, and I did take there was an idea implanted in here before I ever actually developed it, and that was actually developed quite a while ago. And when I also got into the labyrinth, it seemed that an appropriate place to put it was into the center of the labyrinth.
Mm-hmm.
One of the things that I notice about it is the 8-pointed star, and I have a reason why I'm asking. what led you to the 8-pointed star? Because it was part of the original symbol that you discovered in the Goodkin book, or something that you...
That's correct. The basic geometric shape of it is from Terry
Terry Goodkin.
Goodkind's book. Yeah,
Goodkind's
I got to give him some credit.
Yeah. Yeah, he writes outrageously funny science fiction books.
They're way out there, and
Yeah.
he goes on and on. Yes.
Yeah. You definitely wonder if there was if he did some alphabet soup in his past. Because one of the things is, if you look, and I don't have one on me, but like the logo that I use is a K with an octagon with the 8 sides around it. And people have asked me about it before, and I go, well, 8 is, besides being the infinity symbol number, it's the number, it is the bringing the business of spirit and the spirit of business. So it's bringing the two together and bringing spirit into business and making spirit more of a business that can be brought to the earth plane. And so I found it very fascinating to see that you used an 8-pointed star, which you don't see a lot of 8-pointed stars. It's not a common symbol. And when we make our business spirit, not religion, please, but spirit,
Right.
and then we hold our businesses to the spirit of the business, to a higher set of integrity, ethics,
Yes.
things like this, it really moves things forward. So I find the 8-pointed star very drawing and very interesting.
Well, the 8 in numerology is actually the infinite, but also the 8 in numerology is I see what I want to do, and I will do it. There's no holding myself back and saying, well, maybe I will.
Yeah.
It will be there.
That's
it will be.
interesting. Yeah.
And it's also the infinite is I ask and I receive, and therefore it will be.
Right.
So that's part of that 8 symbolization
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
So now, do you actually, can people actually get one of the canvases from you, or they,
No, I don't necessarily. I had, I painted it on the canvas myself. I would be willing to do that for somebody. The canvas I got from Tent Smiths up in Conway, New Hampshire. And they made the pieces. It's made 15 feet by 15 feet each piece. So the labyrinth ends up 30 feet by 30 feet. I have on the back side of one of the canvases, I have a small 5-ring labyrinth. And the path is very small to fit on a 15 by 15. But I set that up sometimes if I don't have room for the big one. I also set that up for the kids for Halloween. I put the candy in the center. I tell them if they want candy, they're going to work for it. They got to walk the labyrinth. And it's quite fun to watch. It's short enough so it doesn't take very long for them to walk to the center, and the parents get a big kick out of it and take pictures and stuff. And I enjoy doing that with my smaller labyrinth.
So with the, yours is on, what do you have it on, a canvas of some
It's
sort?
canvas,
Right?
yeah.
But if somebody were to do this, like I'm actually giving some thought to doing this. I love the artistry. I love the fact of having it there. But if somebody has it in their yard, they can actually take a portion of the yard, or they could actually fill out a full point
You could
of,
make a
so you
beautiful
could go
garden
like 30
labyrinth
by
with
30
one.
or 15 square.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really, you don't need a lot of excessive room.
No, I did that 5-ring on just a small piece of
Yeah.
canvas, 15 by 15,
Yeah.
and certainly with a little more space, you could make a nice little flower garden with something like that, or
Right.
make even as small as a 3-ring labyrinth. A lot of times they've done weddings on just a 3-ring labyrinth, because then it's quickly gotten to the center, so it doesn't take too long for the congregation to sit there. whatever it's.
So now, one of the other things that kind of intrigues me with the labyrinth is the fact that most of the labyrinths I see, they kind of just begin, and they go around into that circle, almost like the circle of life, into the middle center. And one of the old symbols from way back, is the one for energy, the one for power, for empowerment, is also that same spiral effect. If we look at something, when they do some checking our eyes out, sometimes they'll give you a spiral to look at, bring the pointing back and forth. And that's the same type of a feeling sometimes that I receive with, okay, I'm spiraling into that center.
We certainly see
So
that
it's
in
a
nature,
lot of
don't
places.
we? A lot of spirals in nature with shells and so forth.
Yes, spirals are definitely, I do a lot of work with spirals in my work as well, and spirals are definitely a very ancient, sacred template, what I consider a template symbol. And I realize, and we're into what, a month of our show now, basically?
Yes, just about.
Because if we had thought about it, we would have had to bring the labyrinth, and we could have hung the small one right behind it on the thing.
Yeah, we could have.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe at some other point, maybe we'll actually have you bring a labyrinth in, and just because I was just thinking, I'm
We
going.
could put it
"It's
right
so
here and
small."
get rid of the chairs, and we can walk it.
We could walk the labyrinth. We could be talking and doing the thing to walk the labyrinth. When you have something that is so universally spiritual, that appears in cultures that no longer exist, are currently being used in cultures. I know, again, back the labyrinth in San Francisco that's on the I can't remember which church it is, but it's the church up on the hill. And that overlooks all of San Francisco. It's a small labyrinth outside you can walk, and then it's a much bigger labyrinth inside the church. It's like a cathedral church. But you have these. Is the labyrinth, what do you think would happen if we had the leaders of every major religion have to walk the labyrinth together?
Wouldn't
It's a common symbol.
Wouldn't that be a lovely idea? Yeah.
Yeah.
To do it and enjoy it in that fashion, and that would be an awesome thing. Let's contact them and get them all together.
Well, we so focus on differences in the world. And if we can start with the unifying factors and eliminate it. And Angie and I have been having some of these conversations for different reasons recently. But if you had this kind of thing of, okay, everybody start the labyrinth. Now, if your religion believes that your God is a God of love, move forward. If your religion is a religion of forgiveness, move forward. If you're, and then say, okay, so where's all of this hate? Where's all this judgment? Well, I don't remember seeing any of those in any of the questions.
Absolutely.
So everything that you profess your religion is, as you walk this labyrinth and get into the core of it, in the center now, think. And when you can walk the labyrinth back out and tell us where hate, judgment, killing, oppression, abuse, when you can know the answer, you can walk back out the labyrinth and then share with us what part of your religion that came from. I think we'd tie up the religious leaders of the world for a good 100 years. I mean, maybe religions would just kind of fade out.
Yeah.
Well, I think more so you want these religions to come back into their spiritual peace.
Nah, I want them to fade out. I think we need to replace it. We need to have a single world religion. It could be the religion of the labyrinth. What do you think?
I think that I'm right on with that. Yeah. Some people ask me if I'm trying to start a religion, and the answer to that's no. I just want people to wake up to who we are. Wake up to understanding that we are one. We're all one. We're the same thing. We've separated ourselves. We've formed an ego. We've made ourselves, analogy I like is the one of frozen ice cubes in the ocean. We maybe seem different, but in reality, we're still the ocean. We're still all one. We're all the same thing. And I think we need to understand that. And whenever you see things getting united, whenever people come together, there's such good feelings and there's so much camaraderie that can happen. Like, say, after a bad snowstorm and everybody's got 3 feet of snow, all of a sudden you're talking to your neighbors, you're talking to the people, you have a disaster, a tornado or something. Afterwards, people come together, they hug each other and they're happy to be alive. That's the unity that we're missing, because we're constantly trying to divide, constantly saying, I'm not one with you. You're not like me. But in reality, we are. We've taken on, and each person has a gift and a life that is meant to bless all of us, to help us all to awaken to a real consciousness.
All of that feeling that you're speaking of, in our society, a lot of that is brought on by the fear that has been implemented to all the cultures, all the religious beliefs, it's like, oh, hate that person, they, pointing fingers, putting the guilt out there. So if we stop trying to find somebody to accuse of something and just kind of try to find the solution together.
The similarities.
Imagine what we would get
Yeah.
achieved, and that's
Right.
us as one would get much achieved, but right now, because of the fear factors that are drawn to us on a constant basis, we're all split apart. So of course that's never, that's like keeping us from reuniting into one.
So, Michael, tell us where people can find you, where they can find you this summer, where they could contact you if they wanted to have your labyrinth show up at an event, or if they want to go visit it. Tell us where we can find you.
I guess I have an email address. I guess that would be the
Yeah,
most
no.
reasonable way to find me.
So do you have any place where you post your events, or?
No, I don't have a website. I worked on that some this winter, but got discouraged when my computer erased everything on me. And I couldn't bring myself. I don't have, because of the way I'm traveling, I don't have access to the internet except for on my cell phone. And so I think my email address is the best thing to do.
Okay,
Yes.
so give us your email address, and it will also be appearing at the bottom of the screen when they're watching it. So
Okay,
people can
it's
contact-
Raven Farrington, Raven Farrington, Farrington. It's all lowercase, and then I threw 2 numbers in to make them happy, so it's 65@gmail.com. So Raven Farrington 65@gmail.com.
Okay, well, I want to thank you for coming as we're getting ready to move into our last segment.
Okay.
Any closing thoughts that you would like to give our audience today?
Oh, I could talk for a long time.
Quick closing thoughts.
Well, get out and walk a labyrinth and just recognize what it is that you're doing. You're awakening your consciousness. You're bringing your hopes, fears, joys to spirit, and it will affect your life. So it will. It absolutely will. Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you
Good.
for coming.
Thank you for coming,
You're
Michael.
welcome.
And I do want to let everyone know that Michael will be at our event in Laconia on July 23rd. It's up in Laconia, right across from the Weirs Beach, over the little bridge, where the fire station is. And he sets up his labyrinth outside there for all to come in and enjoy. So
And-
July
and-
23rd, up in Laconia, next to Weirs Beach. But I also want to let people know in this area, here in Hudson, that there is actually a labyrinth of Nashua at Greeley Park.
Nope, not Greeley Park.
It's not Greeley Park.
Nope.
Oh,
The
which one is
Labyrinth
it?
in Nashua is it's on 315 Main Street. It's called Rotary Park.
Oh, Rotary
It's a tiny
Park.
little,
Okay.
and it's right across from there's a Taco Bell and there's a Dunkin' Donuts. It's right on Main Street. You would almost miss it. On the first Tuesday in August at, I think it's 6 or 6:30, but you can reach out to me, Dr. Kevin at weboflight.com. We're going to do a drumming circle at the Labyrinth again.
Very nice.
We're going to do one on a Tuesday night because weekends don't always work for people. So we'll be
What's
drumming
the
around
date
the
on
Labyrinth.
that?
That's the first Tuesday in August, and I think it's like the second or third. I don't have a calendar in front of me.
First Tuesday in August.
First Tuesday in August. If you want more information, you can go to Gathering in Spirit, Facebook fan page or meetup group, either one, Gathering in Spirit, and the information's there, or you can send me an email at drkevin@weboflight.com. But yeah, and I'm almost positive it's 315 Main Street, but it's right there, and it's called it's Rotary Park.
Rotary Park, okay.
Yeah, yeah. So, were you getting the nudges from Spirit, the things that you and I've been talking about that showed up in the show unexpectedly?
Nudges?
Well, weren't we just talking alchemy 2 days ago?
Yes, we were.
We've been talking alchemy. We've been talking time. We've been talking about power and what I call synergy, getting more out of time, making more happen, stuff like that. I was kind of taking note of some of the things that Michael was saying, and it feels like it's some of the conversations you and I are
Coming
having.
through some of the pieces that we're working on, yeah.
Absolutely.
But again, that's part of what created us, going into having this filling with Web of Light.
Yep. Yep.
Trying to get the community to understand that everything's not all voodoo. People are here, and it's time to start forming like relationships so that we can work with the community and achieve the goals that are needing to be done, even in our small little communities, and then of course expanding out to the bigger communities.
Well, and you know, very interestingly, because one of the things I want people to understand is that when, you know, we chose the name Web of Light for the show, and part of that came because I have a nonprofit called Web of Light Foundation. But originally, Web of Light was a message that I got from Spirit back in '93 to go out and weave a web of light and travel across the country, connecting very separated spiritual communities, a lot of times that felt like they were all on their own. There was very little going on in the internet. It was just getting started. And they were oftentimes even being, they'd get picketed, or they would have all sorts of issues coming in, and they felt like they were all alone. And so as this is a community show, one of the things I want our audience to remember is that you may be watching this in some other part of the country, but you have a community, and maybe it's not the Hudson, Nashua, Litchfield,
Southern New Hampshire
Southern community, but the things we talk about in this community, I will guarantee you are happening in your community. And so, as we are, looking to get some people in here to talk about buying local or farm shares or nonprofits that are doing really good work, don't ever think, well, that's their community. No, it's your community. We're letting you know it exists. You have to find it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is to give you the incentive to start something with your community. Honestly, it's like my hope when I'm on this show is that the people that do view us, wherever they may be, will take it to light and start reaching out to others in their community to start working with that diversity of let's create something and let's get this expanded. All right. And it doesn't mean that you have to zone into the southern New Hampshire area. This is like, let's spread it all around.
Well, and one of the things that, somewhere in your local area, you probably have a labyrinth. If not, you might contact somebody, like, if it's in his, what I call flight path, as somebody who's traveled a lot. And I had a flight path of different places in different parts of the country. I'd go at different times. But, you locate somebody like Michael, and you say, as a community of like-minded individuals that wants to, let's say I want to get a group or a small community together that wants to be buying local, supporting things, that are looking for solutions instead of pointing out problems, that wants to be inclusive, not exclusive. Whatever your community criteria is, you could then get all these people together and have a labyrinth show up and have each person walk to the same question. What is my role in this community we're forming? Have everybody ask the same question, walk into the labyrinth, come back out, and use it as the center
Forum for discussion.
for discussion. And when I've worked with some nonprofits before, or even companies, I'll do a variation. It might not be a labyrinth if I can't get my hands on it, but is have a single focus, a single question, and then either do a visualization, a meditation, a journey, walk a labyrinth, whatever, but with the common focus and bringing that together, and then have everybody come out with what came from that inner place of me.
Yes.
Any closing thoughts before we wrap it up?
I think we
Where
pretty much
can
have
we
said
find
it.
you? Where can we find you right now? You got anything coming up anytime in the next couple of weeks?
Actually, I'm not really going to be too many places the next couple of weeks. I might be in Ohio. That's where you'll find me.
Angie's son has graduated college, has found a job in Ohio, and Mama Partridge here is going to waddle to Hawaii, you know, like that Partridge family, and you had the partridge walking, you had the little partridges behind you. So she's going to go to Ohio so her son can follow her and find out where Ohio is. I guess they don't teach geography in school anymore. So
Oh, it's just bubbly love, okay?
Come on, let's get happy. What was it? Where's my sound crew when I need it? I just want a couple of things from the Partridge family. Get happy. But so, and you know what? I don't have anything till after the 4th of July. As you know, Jeff and I are moving into our new place.
Yes, and you're going to be very busy getting yourself all settled in, and you're going to be taking a trip too?
Yeah, and I got to go to Phoenix and close out what's left of my life there and come back. And, you know, and of course, we all know what the 4th of July is, right?
Of course we do. It's Dr. Kevin's birthday.
Hey, imagine, how did you know? So next week, we're going to be doing a 4th of July special where our astrologer, the New Hampshire astrologer, Dorothy Morgan, is going to be on our next show. She is going to do the updated chart, the solar return for the USA. Not only is it my birthday, some of you may be aware it's the United States birthday too. I know not as important as mine, but some of you are aware of it. And so she's going to talk about, from an astrological standpoint, what is the year coming up going to look like for our nation? She's also going to look at what our upcoming forecasts are for the astrological energies for the month of July. Man was not meant to live alone. Man is one of those creatures that comes together, like many others, wolves that travel in packs, and horses that travel in herds, and you name it, that needs community to flourish. Man isolated becomes darker, becomes more shut down, can become more depressed, more disconnected. Literally can become more psychopathic. Man in community finds balance, finds wholeness, finds fullness. So go find a community to walk a labyrinth with, to walk along the shore with, to hike a mountain with, to just sit around and look for solutions with. And we invite you to make us part of your community. Namaste.